So I have seen in the last couple of days some reports, or I should say a question, coming out of Israeli news asking question, will U.S. recognize Israeli sovereignty over Golan Heights? And so I've looked at some of these initially, and I really didn't see a whole lot of it just seemed like speculation. And so I looked at an article on IsraelNationalNews.com today, and I saw another article, yet another article. They did one on I believe it was the 18th, and today is the 23rd, asking the same question. And so I figured I'd dig a little bit more deeper today because, just as I pointed out in yesterday's video, that Russia putting pressure to bear on Israel, trying to let Israel know that they have designs on the Golan Heights, that Russia does, by naming their new missile systems that they're giving to Syria the Golan 1000. And if you look on my video, when you see the thumbnail, you will see it is written in Russian and in Arabic, Golan 1000. If you look carefully, you'll see it. Now, so while all this is going, so like I say, the Russians are putting pressure to bear on Israel to give up the Golan Heights by doing this. While that is going on, it appears something is going on in the United States to counter that. Now, as we read in Ezekiel 38, it says that the merchants, the capitalists of Tarshish, and their young lions, that's young states, yes, the United States, will be the ally of Israel in those days. And now we are seeing the United States taking the opposite approach that Russia is doing. So I'm going to read this article from today, and it will send us to the article that they posted on the 18th. I will start with today's article. The United States may soon recognize Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, Intelligence Minister Israel Katz said Wednesday. In an interview with Reuters, Minister Katz said that U.S. recognition of Israel's claim to the northernmost territory was topping the agenda in bilateral talks between the two nations. He said that such a move would send a clear message to the Iranians in light of Iranians' threat against Israel. Folks, that's not where the message is being sent. It's being sent to Russia. According to Katz, the message sent would be, you want to destroy an American ally to generate attacks against it? Look, you got exactly the opposite. There was no comment from the White House on Katz's statement. Israel captured the Golan Heights from Syria during the 1967 Six-Day War and applied its sovereignty over the territory in 1981. The Golan is considered essential to Israel's security as it overlooks many civilian cities and towns in the Galilee. The international community has not recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and several Israeli governments have considered returning the land to Syria in exchange for a peace treaty ending the state of war between the two nations. The Syrian civil war, which has caused the deaths of over 500,000 Syrians and the displacement of millions more, has removed the prospect of returning the Golan Heights to Syria. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has been accused of using illegal chemical weapons in the latest attacks on civilians during the conflict. And the problem is with this article, when you read it like the way it is presented, you miss something very important. On the last paragraph, it says, last week, and it provides a link, Florida Republican House Foreign Affairs Committee member Ron DeSantis introduced a proposal in the House of Representatives which would recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Well, that particular paragraph is enough to put everyone to sleep. It is so boring. That is, until you click the link it provides. And the link goes to a previous article on IsraelNationalNews.com that essentially says exactly the same thing, except for the last paragraph. It says the measure proposed by Representative DeSantis has been given to the Republican-dominated House Rules Committee, which must decide whether to advance or quash the bill. Listen very carefully, folks. The committee is headed by Texas Congressman Pete Sessions, a longtime supporter of Israel, and I'm going to read this slowly now, includes 11 Republican lawmakers and 4 Democrats. What this means is this will pass the House Rules Committee. And it will be then passed in the House of Representatives. It will. Now people will ask, well, the question is, would the Senate be for this? I don't know the answer. So, and I don't think I'm going to find an answer of whether Chuck Schumer is going to be for this. What I'm saying is you're going to get all the Republicans in the Senate will be for this particular bill. But will there be enough senators? Well, Chuck Schumer, sometimes he appears to be pro-Israel. An article from the Times of Israel, Schumer once said, this was back in the March 6th of 2018, and I quote, "Settlements is not an obstacle to peace." So, if he says that settlements are not an obstacle to peace, then he should not have a problem with recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And I have a feeling there will be a few more Democrats in the U.S. Senate that will also have no problem with U.S. recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. So, in one particular paragraph in this one particular article in Times of Israel, it says, Schumer said disagreements over borders are also not an impediment to peace, pointing to the huge territorial concessions offered by, well, that were offered by Prime Minister Ehud Barak that were rejected by then Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. And then he says, rather, the fact of the matter is that too many Palestinians and too many Arabs do not want any Jewish state in the Middle East. So when it comes to territorial disputes between Israel and the Arabs, it seems like Chuck Schumer is on the side of Israel. So this particular question that IsraelNationalNews.com asks if U.S. may recognize Israel's sovereignty over Golan Heights soon, or will it recognize Israeli sovereignty, is not just a mere question. It appears to be a reality. And I do believe that it is in retaliation, or retaliation is not the word, in response to Russia trying to horn in on the Golan Heights. And let me remind everyone who is listening to this video, I think in my last video, my previous video, that I've been able to prove using Ezekiel 38 that the Ezekiel 38 war is indeed about the Golan Heights. If you listen to it, I think I make a good case for that argument. But anyway, I wanted to pass that along, and that is all for now.